Amazing idea, love it. As a side note, if anybody wants to build this is a VC-backed company. Don't bootstrap this. It's not gonna work. Just go ahead and just raise some fucking money for this. And I think you'll find that there's a very good, interesting flow here. I love this idea, but you are right. It is a fragmented sales process and it's difficult to do. Hello everyone, my name is Tom from Up for Grabs. Today I am alone without my dear partner Agam, but instead I brought a superpower backup type guy. His name is Shahar, he's right there. Shahar, before we talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today, please introduce yourself and let people know who you are.
So I'm Shahar, 30, from Tel Aviv, Israel. I'm engineer from since age 18. I was engineer in the Israeli military army, and since then I'm working in space. For the last 6 months, I'm the CTO of Keep. Before that, I've worked with my co-founder at several companies. The list of them was Anecdotes, which is a compliance automation software company. Basically, that's it. I've always was patient about building and writing code. That's what I'm doing today.
Amazing.
Let's take it from here.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Shahar. So a little bit about the episode today. It's very simple. Shahar is going to share with us a little bit of an idea, as much as he feels comfortable sharing, that he was interested in pursuing in the past, I believe, but they didn't eventually kind of go through with it. I'm just going to let him do the talking, and then we're going to go through the normal structure in which we kind of deconstruct the idea and see how we'll get it to market. So Shahar, take it away.
So actually, I'm going to talk about real story that me and Tal, an idea we have started with. Feel free to stop me and ask questions because I will talk. I have a lot to say about the problem space and how we thought to solve it. It's all started with a problem we actually faced. Like in every founder's story, it was a problem we faced in our last company. Anecdotes was B2B, is still a B2B company, but the ICP there was very big companies. And once we went up market, we found out that it's hard to sell to those enterprises, and they are very security oriented. They are very they need trust with their vendors, and they basically told us that they like what we are building, they like the software, but they it's hard for them to trust 50 employees companies. And basically what they wanted is that we will get back to them once we will have an on-prem solution. And obviously we didn't want to be an on-prem company. It's another type of company. We needed a lot of resources, engineering resources, to be one. And basically what we did is a project where we developed bring your own cloud solution. We basically told those companies, okay, you don't trust us, keep the data in your data centers and just give us the minimal privilege we need to read and write to those specific resources. It was a specific bucket and specific tables on the database. And if you want, you can revoke the permission when you don't use the platform. So we won't even have permission when you don't use the platform. And interestingly, they liked it, and we brought those deals, and we got some very nice logos at Anecdotes, based on this specific feature, and they paid a lot of money for that, a premium feature. And the idea was to productize this idea. Why that the next Anecdotes, the next startups that we want to sell to enterprise, instead of developing in-house solution, very tech-oriented, a lot of we needed to invest a lot of engineering time to develop it. So instead of that, they could just use what we will build for them.
Amazing. So let me Let me try and kind of streamline this for everyone in the audience who's not super technical. So first and foremost, Anecdotes is a company that deals with compliance. They essentially do a compliance platform as a service. They come to companies and then they'll tell them, we'll make sure you comply with all the standards that you need to comply to according to like developing software. There's a bunch of them. There's ISO, there's SOC, there's GDPR, there's HIPAA, there's a bunch of other shit like that. And what Anecdotes does, again, correct me if I'm mistaken, but what Anecdotes does is it takes all of those standards, it knows what you need to do in order to pass them, and it takes your stuff, your software as a software company, and make sure that you comply to all of them, and then walk you through the process of submitting and getting approved and yada yada, all of that shit, right?
So it's not the software, but like the company processes. So for example, if you need to be compliant with SOC 2, you need that all of your employees will be with multi-factor authentication. So what Anecdotes did is to connect to your Okta, to your Google Workspace, and then read the policies there and understand that all your companies, like employees, comply to.
Exactly. So essentially, all the things, all the building blocks, the Lego pieces you need in order to comply with those standards, Anecdotes essentially make sure that you have them, and then you have proof that you are compliant, and then you can comply with the standard. And what you did was you said the ICP, like the person, the type of company that you wanted to be was big businesses because that's where the money is, and then you wanted to create something that will help you streamline access to these companies, essentially moving up market from small and medium businesses to larger enterprise companies. And you guys built a tool in-house that essentially streamlined the way Anecdotes accesses the data of these companies to make it as less invasive as possible. It's not give me all your data now and then I will then do it for you, which is very scary for big enterprises, but instead having very minimal, small, tiny bit of access, just what you needed, and then pulling out whenever you don't need it to make sure the company is not afraid you're going to steal their data, misuse their data, endanger their data, endanger their infrastructure, and so forth. Something like that.
Yeah, and even like more interestingly, we separated the processing layer and the storage layer. The storage layer, we like moved it to the like enterprise perimeter, whereas the processing layer was in Anecdotes perimeter. So
Yeah, but
that
that's
was more.
just to stop you. Sorry for stopping you. Just a one tiny comment. We're really trying not to dive too deep into the technical because then we lose everyone who's not just like a marketing or a salesperson.
Yeah,
So
okay.
to
You need.
put things definitely to put things in perspective, the core thing that they were trying to do is to do sales enablement. They help their sales team sell easier with developing a feature that is not as pervasive as other kind of access methods were for getting the same data. And then this package, this thing that you built, you wanted to generalize it. So every company that needs to access customer data, they will have a service or a product that they can use in order to allow minimal access, essentially, to the company's data in order to sell it. Very interesting. Love it. One thing that's really interesting to me here, whenever we talk about enterprise selling, and this is us moving over from the idea side to the product and technical side. So how did you envision this will actually look like? What is the product that you will actually be selling? What will be handed to the customer, essentially?
So it was two parts. It was an SDK which you import in your code, and this SDK knows how to redirect the data flows to the right place. And the second one was kind of interface that companies would be able to show their customers. So it was kind of B2B2B, right? So if I'm like, let's say I'm I'm Paladin. I was the company that sells this solution. I'm selling to Anecdotes. Anecdotes would have an SDK which they import in their code and component that they shows to their customer where their customer can onboard their infrastructure. So
Gotcha.
that was kind of the.
So two pieces. One of the more developer focused. Essentially, the developers would import the code from this product. Let's call it product X. So they will import the code of product X, and then the customer who is non-technical, or essentially the customer of your customer, will also have an interface like a dashboard they can see of what is being accessed, where, how everything is connected, and so forth.
Exactly. We imagine that the end customer, the less B in the B2B2B would have a settings page where he can onboard his cloud.
So three comments. First and foremost, for everybody building products, keep in mind that it's not only about building the backend, the infrastructure. Dashboards are important. Some might say that you can sell just a dashboard without the backend, and that would also be something that would sell. But again, that's just a general product comment. That's one. Number two, for the non-technical folks in the audience, what Shahar is explaining is not a very technically complex solution, but it is a very delicately crafted solution. Essentially, they will have to be very accurate about how they build the product. And once they built it, the way they access the infrastructure on the other end, this can be either IP patented, but more importantly, just something that is relatively hard to replicate. So they will have somewhat of a technical moat on the backend side of things. Again, feel free to correct me if I'm totally mistaken, but that's just what I'm seeing. And the third thing, and I think this is the most important part here, what they're doing is they're enabling sales. They're tying their value to a sale in place. They're saying, use this in order to get past whatever barriers you might have of accessing the data of the customer, which immediately ties this to ROI, to the return of investment for the company. So amazing idea, amazing direction. Love it. I come from developer tools, so like I had the exact same problem. We solved the exact same thing. We did something different, but also to enable streamlining of sales. As an aside, something that a lot of companies do, they get licensed by a cloud provider, so they become certified on AWS or on GCP or on Azure, one of the major cloud providers, and this gives them some sort of stamp of approval, and then many companies agree to work with them. But that's a lengthy, costly, difficult process. If you don't have to do it, using something like this might be amazing. So that was the idea and the product technical. Let's talk about go-to-market. You must have some ideas on how you would take it to market.
So we tried. We had a few problems when we started. We know are going to be problem one. It was the technical, because it's super hard to achieve what I've just you need to interfere with many data flows, which is not easy. You need to support a lot of programming languages and runtimes environments. But regarding the go-to-market, the problem was that the problem was for sales, right? Sales were losing deals because they couldn't satisfy the enterprise security and trust needs. But the persona that's gonna integrate this product is the engineering. So the sales, our sales process here was super difficult, because we needed to find those, I don't know, head of sales in some companies. But then when we talked with them, they didn't understand what we are building. So we needed some technical persona in the meeting, and then it was super hard for us to convince them that they need what we are building. So that's regarding go-to-market. I can tell a lot of stories about how those things goes for us, but in the end of the day, this is one of the reasons we pivoted from this idea.
So a couple of comments that immediately come to me for go-to-market. One thing salespeople love the most is being featured in various places. There's a company called Mine who does data protection, and they did this thing where they collected the people who speak the least on social, data protection officers, people who by design are not interested in getting any information about them out there. It's literally their job to get information out of the network and into personal premises. And what they did to get these people, that digital data protection officers on board, they had profiles. And they said, we're going to profile you as the best DPO, the data protection officer, in the company. Essentially, it's people like a very high level ranking executive whose main job, as far as I understand, is ensuring that data is handled well and kind of protected inside of the company. And again, a bunch of different things. It doesn't really matter what exactly they do. But what they did is they had features of DPOs inside their website, and essentially they got those DPOs to promote the product, which eventually has a B2B offering, with other DPOs, and they kind of infiltrated this very small network. I would do a similar move for salespeople. I was like, we're using this to streamline our sales process. Salespeople love to riff off each other. It's a very common thing in the industry. That's one thing I would do. And the other thing I would do is I would approach the developer side of things. It's a fragmented sales process. You're right, it's difficult. You're selling to two main ICPs in the company. But I would approach the engineering side of things from kind of the improving productivity side, and I know by experience that improving productivity is a major thing for engineers. You just got to find the right messaging around it. And I think the messaging here was tell the salespeople to go fuck themselves and use this product instead to reduce all the back and forth about they need access to this, they need access, endless tickets in whatever system you guys are using. Solve this by using this tool. And specifically, I would most likely start with an open source package, and that open source package would probably be something very minimal. And I would try and think how I can infiltrate any type of problem. Accessing S3 buckets, accessing IAM policies. Again, I'm not sure exactly how I would touch it, but I would do one of them very well, get the respect and appreciation of developers, and from there on, many things become easier because it flows through the network. We got a couple more minutes left. Pricing. How would you price that? What would be a good price point for this product, you think, Shahar?
So because it's like, I think this was the more good part in our idea is that you can charge a lot of money for this kind of features because enterprise pays a lot for those. And like we had like in anecdotes, enterprise actually paid a lot for this premium feature. So we know that there is that enterprises like are going to spend real money. And we had a few minutes where we thought about doing some rev share, but we moved from that to like I don't know, 50K per like license per year, and that's like where we started with, but we didn't have any customers yet. So
I think that the way I would price this mostly, and again, that's definitely an enterprise game, so it's completely an enterprise game, right? I think that I would price it as follows. When you do any type of brokerage work, where essentially what you're doing is not brokerage work, but sales, let's just focus on sales enablement. Whenever you do any type of sales enablement work, it makes sense to cut into the revenue stream. So I wouldn't take a percentage of the deal, that's a bit much, but I would structure it because there are instances of operating this. Essentially, every company that you create is a project or an entity of itself that you give this service to. So I would bill by entity that you are giving this product to. Essentially, if I use this for 4 of my customers, I will bill it by customer. And I would focus on whatever metric was the size of the deal. And I assume, I don't know, but I assume that if you access more cloud resources, right, then I would, it's a bigger company. It's a high requirement for my end. So I would do like 10 to 50 resources access would be one price point, 50 to 100 would be another price point, and so forth. But the lowermost tier will be like $3,500, like the lowermost tier. Because again, you're giving support and it's a very like high touch service. There will be professional services people there. Amazing idea, love it. As a side note, if anybody wants to build this is a VC backed company. Don't bootstrap this. It's not going to work. Just go ahead and just raise some fucking money for this. And I think you'll find that there's a very good, like, interesting flow here. I love this idea, but you are right. It is a fragmented sales process and it's difficult to do. Before we kind of close this up, do you want to do maybe a small plug for what you're doing currently, just so people kind of know where to search you up and look you up?
So now we are in the observability space, specifically in the alerting space, making alerts like better alerts. We just, like me and Tom talked about this like space before the meeting. So if someone wants to talk about it, I'm just ping me. I'm very available.
How can people reach you?
LinkedIn, Twitter. We have a like community Slack where you just look for keephq.dev. You can go to our Slack or just like ping me in any social media.
Amazing. So Shahar, thank you so much for hopping on the cast. For listeners who are in, we're trying to bring people in like Shahar from time to time. If you got any ideas, people you want to see on the cast, just send us a message. We'll try to get them on the show. Thank you very much for listening and have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye, Shahar.